balloons behind me, or at least I think there's one balloon left. That is a dragon balloon, which Judith, who's awesome, you've probably seen her in Happy Half Hour, sent me for my birthday, and it's still up. It's really surprising. My birthday was weeks ago, but that thing just won't land. I guess that's some sort of metaphor, or it could be. Anyway, I'm Johnny Rolla. Welcome to the Friday pre-show. The best thing about the Friday pre-show is that it's Friday, which is awesome because we're going to have an awesome Friday show. Brett Ehrlich is going to be joining me. We've got some fun stories we're going to be discussing. I've got a really pathetic schlub for my garbage person of the week, and I'm really excited to see, considering all that's happened this week, who you will choose for your garbage person. But we've got a bunch of other news beside that. And then I am going to be doing the power panel with Cenk Uygur. I'm not actually sure who our guest is this week, but it's been a lot of fun lately. Great to both have the power panel back and actually have Cenk doing it. Actually doing a show with Cenk Uygur. It's been very rare over the past year. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And before we get to all that, we've got a bunch of really interesting stories. What do you know? The news continues to provide. And we will, of course, get to the title story in a little bit. It ain't the most important thing in the world, but it's a little bit fun. So we're going to get to that in just a few. I did see this comment, though. Copper Dragon said, today Governor Sisolak will unveil his plans for innovation zones. Can this please be looked into and discussed? I think I know what you're talking about there. We will look into that. If it's the thing that I am thinking of, very suspicious. Gabby says, my husband and I are getting our first shot on Sunday. Awesome. Glad to see members of the audience getting their shots, expecting that with every passing day, it should become more common. Hopefully, I assume I'm still at least 3 months out, but that's okay. Good to see people getting their shots. Stephanie, how's it going? So there he is. Hey, John. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Yes, so the Sisolak thing is the one that I was thinking of. Okay, no, we will definitely be taking a look on that. I remember I talked about it on a pre-show a few weeks back, but there was very little information about what it would actually entail. It's a sort of story that I'm definitely going to want to have an expert come in and explain some of the implications. But let's jump into a little bit of what's been going on. Here's a fun one. So a little update on Texas, obviously hit by those storms, really devastating, both the immediate impact, lives that were lost, literally dozens of lives, and people massively inconvenienced doesn't really seem like the right word. Their lives were thrown into utter chaos. And one of the, coming out of it, for those who didn't die, one of the devastating economic realities was that their power bill might have massively spiked. And so, you might normally be paying a couple of $100 or something like that, but for that week-long period, some were expected to pay thousands of dollars. In one case, one individual had to pay more than $17,000. And that is because in Texas, they let the power companies do whatever they want. And so they have a sort of sliding scale of cost for power based on demand. Demand went way up, obviously, the supply went way down, and so the price spiked. That's what they wanted to do. Sucks, obviously. Now, the Texas Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick, had this to say in response to concerns about these bills and some people calling for either the state or the federal government to waive those fees or to cover them in some way. So Dan Patrick had this to say, I saw the story about the high bills. Let me explain that. We have in Texas, you can choose your energy plan, and most people have a fixed rate. If they had a fixed rate per kilowatt hour, their rates aren't going up. But the people who are getting those big bills are people who gambled on a very, very low rate. Going forward, people need to read the fine print on those kinds of bills. And let me just say, for the people of Texas, I don't live in Texas, but I did for over 5 years. Fuck you. Holy shit. I am going to assume that were I to look over the fine print, even if there was a reference, there would not be an explicit reference to, oh, and by the way, if a terrible storm happens, because, by the way, we're not going to weatherize our stuff at all. We're going to create a catastrophe that's going to kill dozens of people. And it might lead to you having to pay way, 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 way more. Oh, and we could totally put some sort of cap on it. That seems reasonable, right? No, we're not going to do that. Fuck you. That's what we're going to do. And so for him to be like, oh, no, I'm a Republican in Texas. I'm totally cool with everything that we've set up. letting the energy companies run amok. If it kills some people, it kills some people. And then if it inconveniences you, you probably should have read better, you illiterate bastard. That is effectively the message that he has for so many people in Texas that are suffering. And the thing is, honestly, like, look at what he has had to say. Look at what the governor had to say. He was spreading the frozen windmills lies, even though he knew it wasn't true. Their senator, Ted Cruz, fled for Cancun. Like, Texas got hit by a major catastrophe, and all of their like senior political Republican leadership is basically saying, yeah, this is what you signed on for. Did you, for some reason, believe we would care if there was a catastrophe? And so, look, that doesn't, now they deserve help, but I also hope that going forward, maybe change your expectations for your politicians. Maybe when one party says, fuck government can't do anything, and we're going to make sure that that's the case, and the other party, for all of their issues, says, well, at least government could like try to help. Maybe go for that. Maybe try that out for a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it could work. But anyway, related to that, Ted Cruz, we have been evaluating his excuses and his attempts at explaining why it was that he fled to Cancun. And it's been frustrating to see that he apparently has decided, well, I don't really need to explain it. I'm a Republican. I can get away with whatever I want. Texas is still red enough. I can tell them to go F themselves, and I'm going to be just fine. And that might be the case, but there is a new poll that indicates maybe it is actually hurting him a little bit. So overall, 24% of voters approve of the Republican senator's job performance, while 49% disapprove. So that's really bad. Really bad. This is Texas specifically. But he's, a senator. Senators aren't that popular. And it's not like he cares if Democrats hate him more. But what about specifically for Republicans in Texas? Well, his approval rating is 53%. So, hey, it's positive, right? Not so fast. It's 23 points lower than it was in January. That he lost a third of his support amongst Republicans in 1 month. Now, that doesn't mean it's necessarily the Texas stuff, although it seems like that would probably be an influence. It could be that they had a problem with his attempt to overthrow the election. It could be, let me get the dates on this. I'm trying to see. No, it's the 76 was enough after that I don't think it was about the vote. I don't think it was about the overturning the election. I mean, maybe it took a while for people's opinions to really change, but it was enough after that. No, it looks like the Cancun thing did actually hurt him. We'll see if it sticks. We'll see if, are these people's like views of Cruz durably changed? That I'm not sure, but it has changed. 20 points. Now, is that going to hurt him in a general election? Probably not. And he doesn't have to have a general election for, I think, 4 more years. But maybe it might lead to some blood in the water for a Republican primary. Might hurt him a little bit when he inevitably tries to win a Republican primary to become president next time. So that's good. That's good. I mean, he should resign or he should be kicked out. That's what should actually happen. But absent that, Republicans waking up to the fact that he doesn't care if they live or die, that is all that I want in this world, is people to evaluate what's going on and have that inform their views of the world. And it looks like maybe for once that is actually happening at least a little bit. Also related to Ted Cruz, we're going to turn to another story in just a sec, but I want to make sure that we catch up on comments. Trashy needs a friend to keep up with all the garbage. Yeah, maybe we're going to have to get a dumpster at some point. Chubtoad says, did you watch WandaVision yet? No, not yet. Daniel says, happy with Pokemon Direct. Can't wait for Rust talk before the show, but thanks for hard work, guys. Is Rust an expansion for Pokemon, or are you talking about 2 different video game series? I can't talk about either. I only played Rust for about 5 minutes. I can't talk about Valheim, if you want. I'm in the later phases of an awesome build. I built a canal with an awesome bridge, and I'm building a shanty town along it. It's going to be sweet. At some point, I'll post some screenshots. Brandon says, any updates on stimulus checks? Where's my money, Jack? That's funny. It's still going to take a bit. We are going to be talking about that on the show, though, with Brett Ehrlich. We're going to be talking about the minimum wage development. Tree Frog says, need to add an honorary guards person this week. The parliamentarian denied 15-hour portion of the bill. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about it. We're actually going to be leading off the show with that, so arguably more important than garbage people. 88i guy says, energy industry expert in Texas here. Let me know if you want additional context and details about the situation. Well, feel free. Always want additional details. Brian Costello says, we need to pass H.R. 1, the For the People Act, and start building public pressure and support for it. I agree. Seems like a good bill. Parliamentarian for garbage person, well, we'll see. Okay, Jack. Okay, so with Cruz, the way he popped up in another story, and look, I want to keep it real. I don't love talking about Ted Cruz this much, but he's just in the news. So John Boehner has been working on the audio version of his memoir, and apparently, according to Axios, he's been going off script while recording the audio version, using expletives and asides that are not in the book. So you're supposed to just read what's on there, but he's like doing live commentary to the book. And one of those is, oh, and Ted Cruz, go fuck yourself. That makes me a little bit more interested in the John Boehner memoir. I'm definitely not going to buy it. Probably won't even listen to it, but that is a little bit interesting. But here's his explanation for why he did that. Poured myself a glass of wine of something nice to read my audiobook. You can blame the wine for the expletives. So, like, you remember John Boehner. Well, you might not. But if you've been following politics for a while, John Boehner used to be, House Majority Leader for the Republicans. And he would frequently get drunk and get really emotional. It was weird. We don't have a lot of politicians like that in the modern era. But he would do it. And he apparently is, that wasn't a thing where he was drinking to deal with political stress. He just really likes getting drunk and emotional. I mean, this is not breaking down crying. This is him swearing at his former political foes, but I'll take it. I like it. I like it. Everybody hates Ted Cruz. That's a book that I'm going to write. I'm going to get drunk and do the audio version. But everybody really does hate Ted Cruz. Like, who legitimately likes him? I guess, so he has that roommate from college. I guess he does if he's going to go on a trip with him. But the family's sort of obligated by blood to deal with him. Does anyone actually like Ted Cruz? I should do a documentary, actually. Trying to find someone who will go on the record with a lie detector test and confirm that they actually enjoy the company of Ted Cruz. Okay, let's see. He has a punch me face. Other beach possum. At least make it a TYT bumper. Everyone hates Ted Cruz. Oh, everybody hates Ted. We gotta. Oh, that's a good one. I do want that. Everybody hates Chris. Not even Heidi likes him. I mean, look, you never know. For all we know, Heidi is terrible in the exact same ways that he is, but I wouldn't take it for granted that she likes him. Yeah, Snowflake definitely hates Ted Cruz. So that dog has no interest in him. Ian says, let it be remembered that part of the reason we got Trump was because of how much the GOP hated Ted Cruz. That's actually a pretty good point. If Ted Cruz was not so obviously horrendous, he might have been able to beat him. Remember, Ted Cruz won the first caucus. Is it a caucus on the Republican side in Iowa? I believe it is. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it's a primary. But anyway, in Iowa. And he stuck in there for a long time. He did okay. He did better than Jeb. But not enough in the end. He could have potentially saved us from Donald Trump. Ted Cruz makes love like an alpha male. That is definitely not true. Not even worth the documentary to try to find evidence. Anyway, the most important news of the pre-show is that in the testimony around what happened, I'm going to do my shoes. In the testimony around what happened at the Capitol on January 6th, it was revealed that there are still significant threats, credible threats, it's believed by Capitol Police, of violence in the Capitol. And apparently, it's going to be around when President Biden delivers a joint address to Congress. We don't have a date yet, so we'll see once there's an actual date. Maybe with the militias, there'll be more specific, credible threats about it. But this is coming from Acting Police Chief, Capitol Police Chief Yogananda Pittman. She said, we know that members of the militia groups that were present on January 6th have stated their desires that they want to blow up the Capitol and kill as many members as possible with a direct nexus to the State of the Union. And so bear this in mind. It might not happen. Remember, after all, there were threats that we covered here on the show for Inauguration Day, that they're going to send tens of thousands of people with guns. You remember that? Well, that didn't end up happening. One has to wonder, they really beefed up the National Guard presence. If they hadn't done that, would those terrorists have gone? I don't know. We do know that the defenses are going to stay, at least for the next bit. The idea that it should be permanent is something that I'm not interested in. I can't believe that it could potentially get to that point in the U.S. But the reason I mention this is not just because it's a significant threat, and not just Joe Biden, but some Republicans and a lot of Democrats are still every day under threat of violence. Some of our favorite people still are being threatened constantly. It's that right now, I mean, how many people are trying to convince you and everyone that this isn't serious, that there is no threat, that the January 6th wasn't an actual threat? And not just, I don't want to go into it, some of the people I find most frustrating in politics are now apologists for what happened on January 6th. But the threat is still out there. Those groups are still out there. They wanted more blood than they got on the 6th. They were dissatisfied with what happened because they thought it didn't go far enough. They're not going to suddenly moderate their politics afterward. Remember, they think the election was stolen. So maybe we'll talk more about that as more information comes out. But that threat remains. Jeffrey, thank you for your super chat. Really appreciate that. Okay. I don't understand some of the references in the chat. I can't hear you. You talking to me? Or was I not talking loud enough? Okay, final story. Oh, hold on. Kofi says, also, John, can you mention violent attacks against Asian Americans on rise in U.S.? Well, definitely. So we've actually had 2 guests on interviews specifically to talk about that. So those are available on the show. We had Amanda Nguyen, the co-founder of Rise, on to talk about it, and we had another journalist on about a week ago at this point. So we have had a couple of interviews about that topic. If you're interested in our commentary about that, then you can find that on the channel. Now, really fast, this is not important, but if you care to understand who broke Marjorie Greene, who turned her into the dim-witted, believe whatever she sees on internet forums person that she is, well, we don't know for sure, but we do know one thing that certainly didn't help, and that was that from the evidence available so far, her dad seems like kind of a kook. So her dad wrote some books, and one of his books, 600 pages, it was a novel called Paradigm, revealed his own revolutionary theory, which he called the Taylor effect. He named it after himself, about how to figure out what's going to happen with the stock market. So it is a wild theory designed to get you rich quick. Here's a quote from it. It's a 2006 book. I, for some reason, thought it was from the 70s or something. No, 2006. What is tomorrow's Wall Street Journal worth to you today? Where is the line between reality and fiction? Are the financial markets really predictable? Does an ancient artifact hold the key to how some of the world's wealthiest families made their fortunes? Now you might think, okay, the belief that, I believe it's gravimetric waves, something to do with gravity, is how you can figure out what's going to happen with the stock market, because that's true. No, it's very simple to explain why the stock market does what it does. It's all random, and rich people just do whatever they want. That's effectively what determines it. It's not actually based on anything. It isn't gravity that's making Tesla's stock price quadruple in a year. It's an arbitrary whim from powerful people to make more money. That's the John effect, actually. But anyway, so the book is a novel, so you might think, well, no, but he doesn't mean it seriously. It's just a novel. But hold on. It's not actually in the novel that we're worried about. After the novel, there's this aside that describes economic theory. And importantly, he claimed that it had been nominated for the 2000 Nobel Prize in Economics, which is not normally a thing that you say about something that's purely fictional. You say that about something, well, you don't say that. Crazy to say that. That's Trumpian to say that. But if you say that, you say that about something you want us to believe is real, which it isn't. But that is what Marjorie Greene's dad said. Bill McDonald of the Military Writers Society of America says the back of his book goes into great scientific detail with supportive data. What you really have is a great action thriller novel for 80% of this book, followed by an equally interesting nonfiction appendage at the end of the book with Taylor's economic theories. It is a combination that causes one to lose track of what is fiction and what is real in the story. So that is insane, but bear in mind it's positive. That person has a positive reaction to the book. But that quote causes one to lose track of what is fiction and what is real in the story. I mean, that seems to be one of the big problems with Marjorie Greene, is an inability to tell what is fiction and what is real, what is convenient and what is true, what is a get-rich-quick grift, and what is actually founded in economic science. An inability to tell that, a blurring of the lines of reality. Apparently, she was raised in a household where that was just the thing that happened. There's a lot of other nonsense about it. I am not an economist. I'm not an expert on gravity, but I don't think, Best Buy's stock price is really affected by changes in gravitational fields. But that's the context some people are raised in. And they have power. They're far more important and more powerful than you or I. So anyway, I doubt she'll ever have to answer for that. She barely has to answer for the things she actually says. I doubt she'll have to answer for anything her dad said, but understand that is out there. Okay, let's see. Laurel Shantz, welcome to Tier 2 membership. Enjoy the top 10 lists. Earlier this week, we ranked, Francesca and I ranked our, trust the science. Trust the gravity science for your economic stock picks. Anyway, we ranked our Star Wars movies, and controversial apparently, so that's on the channel. If you become a Tier 2 or Tier 3 member, you can take a look at that. But anyway, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. That was a lot of different stories, and we've still got a full show. We're going to break for a little bit. I'm going to get some coffee. You should too. And then Brenner is going to be joining me. We're going to run through all the news, the minimum wage, and everything else. Lots of it. And then our garbage people of the week. Wait. Post says, but John, is there a correlation between garbage person of the week and the stock market? Well, obviously, that's the Johnny Pie effect. And I will detail it in my upcoming 9,000-page novel. Anyway, I'm going to see you soon. Thank you so much.